Ed Table Talk Unplugged. It is a show produced by the Communications section of the Ministry of Education, Technical and Vocational Training. Here we feature key education stakeholders as we discuss issues that are critical to the sector. Teachers are among the greatest resource in the arena of education. Even more critical to the success of our instructional delivery program is the input of males. Many persons are of the view that the quality of our schools, or lack thereof, is directly tied to the presence of males on the school grounds. In 2020, out of approximately 4,161 educators in our public schools, only 697 of them were males, compared to the 3,464, or more than 80% that were females. Since then, it is clear that this gap continues, as one only has to visit one of our schools to see that they are predominantly staffed by females. Yet while there are less men in the teaching profession, many believe the role they play is imperative. Today we have 3 veteran educators here with us to share their views on the significance of the male factor throughout the academic sector. They will let us know why they entered the profession and why they made the decision to remain. I would like to welcome Vice Principal of Cleveland Aeneas, Sherrado Gibson, Principal of Eva Hilton, Jermaine Butler, and Vice Principal of Sierra Walker, Ken Lightbourne. Welcome, gentlemen. Well, before we go any further, I would like to invite you to listen in as our own Lisa Ballard shares an education tidbit with us today. Lisa?
As teachers, men significantly contribute to the advancement of educational systems. Male instructors contribute to the diversity of the teaching force and have a huge impact on students as role models in a field where women are overwhelmingly the teachers. Having both male and female teachers gives students the chance to learn from others they perceive as similar. This can foster a sense of belonging and reduce instances of disruptive behavior. Some students will look up to their instructors as role models to help them learn how to connect constructively with adults who are different from themselves. Some have even argued that a diverse workforce can enhance decision-making processes and drive positive outcomes as people from different backgrounds see challenges in different ways. Teachers of both sexes have a variety of perspectives and life experiences to share with their students. Thus, students who have a range of viewpoints can better understand the diversity of interactions that exist between both inside and outside of the classroom. Thank you for watching. I hope you learned something new. For Red Factoids, I'm Lisa Ballard.
Well, thank you, Lisa, and welcome back. Today we are speaking with 3 male educators on the significance of males within our schools. Gentlemen, I understand that this is a very popular topic among the males on the campus. So I'm pleased to have the 3 of you here with us today. Now, I have my first question, and I want to know, what motivated the 3 of you to become teachers? And why did you decide to remain within the profession? And I'm going to start with the veteran of the 3 of you, and I believe that is Mr. Butler. Mr. Butler, what motivated you?
Well, actually, it was more so than a motivation. It was an innate thing for me. I knew myself. I knew I would be an educator. And one of the things was, even at a young age, I realized that all the other things I aspired to be, I could do in education. Whether it was medicine, finances, a politician, a judge, a doctor, whatever it might have been, I could do all those things within education itself. So it was innate, born with the desire to do it, and so it was simple for me.
And Mr. Gibson, yourself?
For me, I am going to piggyback a bit off what Mr. Butler would have said, something about being innate. But I will add to it, my mother was a teacher for some 40 plus years.
Oh.
And I'm a second generation teacher.
Excellent.
And for me, what has kept me in it is the fact that I see it as something worthwhile. I see it as something beneficial for the overall aspect of the nation in terms of wanting or attempting or trying to be a nation builder, seeing that there's a need and trying to facilitate that need.
And Mr. Lightbond, what yourself?
I never wanted to be an educator. I fell into it by accident. I received a grant from the Ministry of Education to complete my bachelor's degree.
Yes.
And when I completed it, I got a letter to say that grant meant that you need to work for the government for a certain amount of years. And we're going to send you to Inagua as a teacher. It's like, what? But when I went there, I went there kind of kicking and hauling. But when I got there, I fell in love with it. It was such a wonderful experience. I went back to the COB at the time to get my teaching certificate and upgrade myself. So that's how I ended up in it.
Now, that's really interesting. You were in Inagua and fell in love with teaching. That's like for want of a better word, a Cinderella story.
Yeah.
Who would have thought, eh? That's a wonderful thing.
Never would have thought that.
So how do we get more males into this profession? You know, there are so few males now entering the profession. So I want to know, what do you think? Why do you think that is the case? I gave the statistic earlier, 80% of our teachers are females. That's a large proportion. Why do you think so few men want to come into this profession? And this time, I'm going to start with you, Mr. Lightboard.
Wow, I think that it's a kind of a secular problem. I think that not enough males are in the profession, and we don't get enough because of that. Because I think what the problem is that the young men who would be the source of the new teachers, they don't see enough men in the profession, and they see the profession as a female profession. So it's something that a female would do, almost like nursing. It's considered to be something that a female would do. And so I think that the fact that we don't have enough positive male role models in the profession kind of influences the young men to think that this isn't an area that a man would go into. And so they end up looking for more, vocational and almost the STEM-related subjects. Typically, the boys would gravitate towards that more. So I think it's a kind of it's
self-fulfilling prophecy.
Yeah, it's self-fulfilling. It's kind of feeding on itself.
Yeah, and yourself, Mr. Butler, would you agree?
My thoughts are, I don't know that males or young men are interested in coming into education. Because, for example, it was innate for me. Very quickly, when we have our career days, for example, we find that fourth of the kids want to be teachers at the primary level. And half of that fourth are boys who want to be teachers. Something happens between primary school and the junior school that deters our boys from wanting to continue in their dreams. We need some research to be done to figure out what is it that is happening at our level.
Now you say 1/4. You said 1/4.
Yes, ma'am.
That's 25%.
Yes, ma'am.
Of the overall student.
Yes, ma'am.
Want to be teachers.
Yes, ma'am.
That's quite interesting. Exactly what is happening? What do you think is happening?
I think there are many reasons for it. I think one thing is not encouraged. I think that I'll put it like this. It amazes me that if a fourth of these students want to become teachers, and we the teachers have them for half of the day every day, the doctors don't have them, the athletes don't have them, the politicians don't have them, we have them. So whatever it is that we're doing with these children at that time, we need to take a deep look into what is happening to figure out what is it that we're doing that is removing them from wanting to remain teachers. As educators, we have to look at ourselves a little deeper and figure out what we can do to encourage these kids to stay on that natural path.
And that's an interesting point. What are we saying? What are we projecting?
I'm pointing the finger at us, the educators.
You're pointing your finger at the educators.
It goes beyond just instructing children about A, B, C, and D. It's more than that. We have to take a more look at ourselves and see what we need to do to improve whatever we're presenting to them.
So in other words, we need to maybe consider what image we're projecting to
Definitely.
them. That perhaps teaching ought to be the profession of first choice.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. And Mr. Gibson, what do you say to this?
I say that I believe a lot of young men are not considering teaching. I think it's an issue, in my opinion, that deals with a marketing issue. I don't know if it's projected the way that it ought to be projected as a profession for men to enter in. Teaching has to compete with the other careers that, are more maybe appear more glamorous to young men. There's the technical field, there's the armed forces, there's other careers that, where they see more men in. And when they look at education, they like my colleagues would have said, they don't see men in those areas. It's almost like what Mr. Lightborn said, where it's a female-dominated area, so they assume that, hey, this is something that females deal with. It's not a profession for men. So that's what I think is happening.
I'm going to read a few statistics, okay?
Go ahead.
About leadership in our schools, the administration factor among males, okay? Now, there are even less males in administration. In fact, back in 2018, there were 346 females hired in administration positions throughout both the public and private schools in the Bahamas, okay? Meanwhile, only 112 males were hired to be school administrators. Now, gentlemen, what is even more surprising, at the primary level, that very important foundational level, there were only 18 males serving as a school administrator, in comparison to the 148 females. Now, if my math serves me right, that's about 12%, if I did my math right. Not a high percentage at all. So, gentlemen, please let me have your feelings on this. The three of you are administrators, and I'm curious to know what it takes to get there to be an administrator, why few males are there. Now, of course, we know this is your opinion, but you're speaking from experience. So I'm being told I have about 2 minutes.
Okay.
But I want to hear, that's a lot of time. We're going to start with Mr. Butler.
Well, first of all, there are very few males there in the first place. They're summoned into the position, but also too, when the male comes into the profession, perhaps the salary that he makes is good enough for him. Coming at a young age, he's an individual. By the time as you get into administration or the amount of time you spend, you probably have a family by then. So the financial strain is a bit more, calls for a bit more. And so to spend the amount of time in the classroom before you get into administration, your life has changed so much, the financial burdens have grown so much that perhaps it isn't, feasible for you anymore to stay that long.
Would you agree, Mr. Lightborn?
No, not really. I hear this argument about the financial side of it. I hear this argument about the patience, and men don't have the patience. But I think that the reason why we don't have more males in administration is entirely a decision of the Ministry of Education and government. That's their choice. It's a choice. All of those persons that have been put in those positions were put in those positions by the Ministry of Education and the government. That's a choice that I think was made because I think in most times there are males applying for positions, even though the amount isn't the same. So you would have maybe 5 males to 500 females. But the choice is made to choose who fills the position. And so I don't think that has to do with the males. The males don't have much input in whether they are hired for that position because the men are there. At least 600 plus are there. So the choice to move on is not theirs. The only thing that they can do is present themselves. And after that, see what happens.
So maybe do you think perhaps that there's more of a elevation for females? They're being propelled forward a bit quicker, maybe, so to speak.
Yes, I think that it's a perception that women have a better aptitude for this job. I think it's just a perception that women do the job.
Well, we're going to touch back on that when we come back from our break. In my how time goes, and I want to hear Mr. Gibson's views on this question as well, because that could be kind of like a touchy topic. But it's one that needs to be addressed. What's happening with our male administrators? Well, thank you, gentlemen. We're going to take our first break. And ladies and gentlemen, you're watching Ed Table Talk Unplugged. And we're speaking with the male administrators about the significant role that males play in our education system. Stay with us.
The Bahamas Learning Channel, streaming programs through your computer, broadcasting live on your television screens, available at your convenience through your laptop, viewable with the swipe of your finger on your tablet, and visible on the move by means of your smartphone. The Bahamas Learning Channel,
all day, every day.
Education is in the click. In the click. Is in the click. Is in the click.
Welcome back to Ed Table Talk Unplugged. We're speaking with three of our instructional leaders, Principal Jermaine Butler, Vice Principal Ken Lightbourne, and Vice Principal Sherrado Gibson. Gentlemen, we're going to complete that question that we started in the first segment, and we were talking about male leaders right now in our public school. Why are there so few of them in administration? And of course, we heard from Mr. Butler, we heard from Mr. Lightbourne, and I'd like now to hear Mr. Gibson's point of view on that. Why are there so few male leaders?
I think from my standpoint, if I'm not mistaken, I think it requires a teacher, an entry-level teacher, to be a teacher for some 10 years before being considered to apply for promotion. And as a male, 10 years is a long time. 10 years sitting on any job, not being promoted, is a long time. And then, as Mr. Lightbourne alluded to, you could be on the job for 10 years and you could apply, and there's no guarantee you're going to get it. So you can be sitting for, let's say, another 5 years, still pushing to get that opportunity just to be promoted. I think a lot of frustration has set in with males in the system. I have known personally of some who have left because they felt that opportunity was elsewhere. Persons would I have personally met my friends. Some are police officers, and some of them within 5 years were promoted. And here I am still teaching, waiting on that 10-year mark just to apply. So I think, as Mr. Lightbourne said, there are some things that the Ministry of Education can do to help incentivize, to help males. Not that males are looking for handouts, but to try to make the playing field a bit leveled and to make it fair.
Lightbourne, you picture? Yeah.
So, Denise, I wanted to make another contribution to this topic because at my school that I am an administrator at, we have about 14 heads of department, subject coordinators, and all of them are female. We had 3 year heads, females all. 3 guidance counselors only, 3 females. No, and guidance counselors, the person have to counsel male and females, right?
That's correct.
So the males kind of looked at it and said, something's going on here. We have qualified persons in these departments that can do it, and persons that have been working in this position for years and years, 5, 10 years as a coordinator. Give a male a chance. And I have to say that my principal, Ms. Fox, wonderful principal, excellent leader. She listened to our concerns and she put out applications, persons who wanted to do it. And now we have about 7 of the 14 subject coordinator positions filled by qualified, competent males. And the other areas, particularly guidance, we're working on that to try to see if we can get a male guidance counselor in the school. So I say that to say that there are things that the powers that be above can do, but it's just the perception that probably men don't want to do it, or the perception that females have a knack for these things more than males. But when the situation is put to them, corrections are made. Just like in our case, we made almost a 360-degree turn, and I think we corrected the problem. And I think the problem can be corrected especially when it comes to putting competent males in positions of leadership.
Mr. Butler, you want to respond to that?
Respond to the question more so.
To the question of this male leadership in terms of, I know you had mentioned the monies in terms of that being an incentive for persons to leave to find more lucrative pastures and so forth. And what Mr. Lightbon has shared with us is that, listen, if we can get some sort of mentorship or maybe somebody to understand that there needs to be opportunities open up for males, maybe they'll stick around. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I'm in full agreement with that as well. I still find it odd because, like I said, we have to do some research in reference to it, that when the students are leaving my institution at the primary level, my boys are emulating me per se. They're seeing me, and they want to be more like the principal or the male teacher. So what has happened when they would have left, that they're no longer interested in that particular vocation? And when it comes to the fact that it is seen as something that women would necessarily do, I don't know that being a father means being a mother. My point being, I don't know that when kids see a male in a primary school, they necessarily think femininity or anything of that nature. So I have a problem or a challenge with even the thought of it. But I said that to say, me personally, I grew up Union Village, Pairdale, Nassau Village kind of thing. And so I just think that regardless of what the circumstances are, we have to find a way. We have to find out what the challenges with these young boys, because they want to be teachers. I can tell you that. Why is it not being progressive going forward? What are we going to do in order to get that out of them and to keep them in that profession, in this profession? Because it can be done and it's there, like everything else.
Well, would you believe we're already at our second break? And that's surprising me as well, how the time flies. You say when you're having fun. Well, thank you so much. I am very pleased to have all of you with us. And we're watching Ed Table Talk Unplugged. Listen, stay with us. We will be right back.
Ready, get set, and off we go into the 2022-2023 school year. The Ministry of Education and Technical and Vocational Training is pleased to welcome all new and incoming students. Parents, please note that registration for new students is ongoing. Kindly log on to the Ministry's website, choose the Student Registration Application tab, and register your child for the school nearest to you. Be sure to submit a current and frequently checked email address to ensure you receive swift feedback. You will receive a confirmation email within 1 minute of submitting your application. Help your child to make the mark this school year.
Well, welcome back to Ed Table Talk Unplugged. And we're speaking with 3 educators, administrators, as a matter of fact, about the significance of the male factor on the school campus. Now, gentlemen, welcome back. We're at our final segment, and I want to talk a little bit about the high school teacher cadet program, because I think it really solidifies the point we've been making all along. Now, the main point of the program, we know, is to get our high schools students interested in entering the teaching profession. Now, I was curious to find out how successful that program was with getting our boys in, okay? And I'm going to share with you just a bit of information. I was looking at the numbers from the program, and the report indicates, and I'll share it, that there is a downward trend in interest among our high school boys to enter the teaching profession. I'll share some of the numbers. In 2017, there were 151 girls registering for the program, compared to only 30 boys. In 2018, there were 22 boys compared to 130 girls. And of course, then we had the COVID-19 pandemic. So of course, both numbers for boys and girls would have been lower for the 2020 and 21 years. But if you look at the 2020 numbers, there were only 10 boys. And again, in 2021, only 10 boys. Yet there were 50 girls signing up and 66 girls signing up in those 2 years. So our young men are telling us in high school that, hey, I'm not interested in the teaching profession. Again, can we do anything about this? In your opinion, and we're going to be quick with this because I want to get in that final question before this break ends. What can we do about this for our high school boys?
One of the things I would suggest from the primary level is there has to be collaboration between the primary, the junior, and of course the senior school in reference to what is happening in the primary. They're leaving us ready for the program, what is happening in between. So there has to be some collaboration across the board with the 3 levels.
To encourage them
Yes.
to continue to think about teaching as a viable profession. Lightborn?
I 100% agree with that. I think that Mr. Butler mentioned earlier that the interest level is so much higher at the primary school level than at the junior and senior school level. And I think that's where the fall off occurs. And so at the junior and for those students who have that interest. And I think that at the primary level, children are more idealistic. They want to do a job that they love and that they want to do. When they get older, they become more materialistic in that they want a job that provides money or status, which is different. There are different perspectives at the primary. When they hit that, junior school level, and we have to work towards continuing to motivate them from the primary to bring that interest through the junior and the secondary school.
And Mr. Gibson?
Again, make it attractive. These boys are these careers are competing for the interests of these boys, of these young men. And I just don't know how well education and teaching is standing up to the appeal of the other careers at this time.
At this time. Mm-hmm. Wow, so make it more attractive. I like that. I like that suggestion. My final question, and I know I know you're ready for this one, because I want to get from you, if you had the power to change anything in the teaching profession, particularly when it comes to administration and male leadership in administration and in teaching, what would you change? And I'm told we have 2 minutes. So, Mr. Gibson, let me start with you. What would you change?
First thing I would change is now, in my opinion, I think there's a stigma to males in education. I only can speak from my experience. Sometimes, as an educator, being a male in this female-dominated area, you're kind of relegated to certain areas that females and female leaders want to box you in certain things. Well, oh, you're a male, so discipline. That's your forte. Leave the curriculum to us. We'll plan the curriculum. We'll do everything, but we just want you to stand by the gate. Deal with the bad boys. Work those kind of things. So I think that's something that plays heavily on me. There are a lot of things, and I believe there are a lot of ideas that males have in terms of running, organizing a school, curriculum-wise, things that can help, but oftentimes, because of our gender, we are not utilized the way we should be utilized.
Fully utilized.
Fully utilized, yes.
Especially the academic component.
Especially the academic component.
I hear you. Mr. Lightborn, you ready?
Amen, brother. Amen. Like I said, my principal is such a wonderful leader. She listens, she tries to do the best that she can do, and I think that she works with things when she sees it's logical and it's workable, she works with it. And one of the things that I have been petitioning for was to get out of this box of administrative VP. The VP in charge of the physical plant, the VP in charge of moving the desks and chairs. I'm saying, listen, I went to school, I was qualified just like everyone else. I can do curriculum matters. Let me do it. And my principal is like, buddy, if you say you could do it, you got that portfolio this year.
Right.
And so now I'm working on that. I'm working on registration and getting all of the curriculum matters together. And so one of the things I have to say, it really starts with the leadership. If the sets the tone, then it would make the change as it goes down. Just since this is our last session, for the boys, I think we really need to try, if there's one thing that I could change, really what I would do is try to change this stigma that is associated with our boys. It's almost like a throwaway culture where if our boys do something wrong, send them in the street, kick them out, suspend them, send them to the, Carlos Reed program. And I think that type of attitude towards our boys, it's what's limiting the pool of persons that we have, because those same boys are teachers. You ask them if they can teach a young man how to fix a motorcycle or a flat tire, or teach someone how to play basketball, or to do whatever else. They have those skills. But because so many boys are being thrown out of the system and not being dealt with properly, because if you look at the stats, the amount of females enrolled in COB is almost the same as the amount of teachers in the schools. It's like 80% of women. The boys are there dropping them to school, the men are there dropping them to school in the cars, but the women are the ones educated, and 30% men.
Enrollment has dropped, yes.
Right.
Yes. Mr. Butler, please.
Yes, ma'am. My response would be in terms of a thought. What if we had schools where all of the teachers were males, particularly primary schools as well, and you're sending your girl child there? What would the thought be? Well, that's what a lot of our boys have to deal with on a daily basis. Yeah. It's also the same scenario at home. I think too that our girls need to understand that and experience the fact that a man can touch you to help, he can compliment you to motivate, and he doesn't have to hit you when he's angry. For these reasons and many other reasons, I think we need to put some more research into finding out why it is that the males with the innate qualities to be teachers are not in the system. Put our resources, advertisement behind encouraging those choice persons to come into the system and increase the male output in the education system in general.
So perhaps a strategic plan in place to attract more males and say that this profession is worthwhile for the male factor and worthwhile for our students, of course. Yes, for their holistic development. Well, gentlemen, it's been a pleasure speaking with the three of you. I have learned a lot, and I'm certain the Bahamian public has as well. Okay? So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for watching us today on Ed Table Talk Unplugged. It's been a wonderful experience, and we want you to listen in and join us again. Well, you've been watching us, and if you'd like to receive updates on what's happening at the Ministry of Education, then please visit our YouTube channel, website, or other social media platforms. Well, that's all for now. I am Denise Pratt, and thank you again for tuning in. Good day.